Hello listeners, this video discusses the play The Great God Brown, written by Eugene O'Neill. The play was first staged in the year 1929. Neil started to write this play in the year 1912. Neil describes this play as a play of masks, removable, the man who really is and the mask he wears before the world. The play was included as the best plays of 1925 to 1926 in Burns Mantles. Eugene Gladstone O'Neill was an American playwright. He was born in the year 1888, died in the year 1953. He was a Nobel Prize winner in literature in the year 1936. He is well versed in using the techniques of realism. Realism is a concept associated with the playwright Anton Chekhov, Henrik Ibsen, August Steinberg. Realism is a theater movement that began in the 19th century. Realism is a set of dramatic and theoretical conventions that came up as a movement to bring the experiences in real life texts and performances. Neil's play Long Day's Journey into Night is included as the finest US plays in the 20th century, along with A Streetcar Named Desire, written by Tennessee Williams, and Death of a Salesman by Arthur Miller. Neil has awarded Pulitzer Prize for Drama for the years 1920, 22, 28, and 57. He was also awarded Tony Award for Best Play in the year 1957. Neil has written full-length plays, one-act plays, and other works such as short story. To name a few full-length plays of him are The Emperor Jones, The Hairy Ape, Desire Under the Elms, Lazarus Laughed, Morning Becomes Electra, The Ice Man Cometh, Our Wilderness, A Moon for the Misbegotten, A Touch of the Poet, and the like. Let us now see a small overview about this play, The Great God Brown. The play revolves around two business partners, Dion Antony and his friend William A. Billy Brown. They are the two sons of a business partners, that is, their fathers are friends. Both these two boys, Dion Antony and William A. Billy, they fall in love with Margaret, but Margaret loves Dion when he is presented behind a cruel and clinical mask, even though he is a sensitive artist. The two boys inherit their father's business. Dion, who's interested in painting, he retires his business and moves to paint. Unfortunately, he fails and eventually dies. Billy, in the play, he takes the mask and poses himself to be Margaret's husband. But when she finds out the real Billy has faded away, he is accused of killing his real self, and a prostitute named Sybil, she comforts him. Eventually, Billy also dies, and many years later, Margaret tries to figure out her undying love to Dion's mask. The play makes use of mask in order to delineate between the characters, personal feelings, and public personas. The play is a tragedy and a disillusioned play. When the play is presented and performed in 1926, there were several criticisms for establishing a unique American approach to theater. Let us now see the summary of this play. The play starts on a night of the high school commencement dance program where Billy Brown, he stands on a pier with his parents who declare that he will study architecture in college and then joins his father's firm, that is business. Now on stage, the Brown family leaves and Antony family appears on stage. Antony is reluctant to send his son Dion to college. He prefers to perform manual labor. Suddenly, his mother, Mrs. Antony, reveals that his friend's son, Billy, will go to college to study architecture. Mr. Antony now changes his mind. He challenges Dion to be better architect than Billy. Now the parents, they are about to leave, leaving their son there. Both Billy Brown and Dion Antony, they fall in love with the same girl, Margaret, but Margaret announces her love for Dion in front of Billy. Though Billy confesses his love for her, she ignores him. Disappointed by her answer, Billy declares that he will remain her friend forever. The performances happen in a pier. Pier is a large wooden or a metal structure building into the sea from the land. For instance, where boats stop at pier so that people or goods can be taken on or off. Now, Dion is on stage, that is, he is on the pier. He takes off his mask to reveal a full face of sadness and insecurity. Now Billy comes next to Dion. Dion now confesses his insecurity about his love for Margaret. Unfortunately, they hear that Dion's father passes away. Eventually, Dion marries Margaret. They then together move to Europe because Dion wanted to pursue a career as an artist. 7 years pass by. Dion and Margaret, they returned from Europe after his failure as an artist. Dion, as he is depressed of his failure, he turned to alcoholism. As he is depressed, his mask has become more cynical. Cynical is a feeling of distress who has a great lack of faith or hope in people. Cynical is actually motivated by ambition, desire, greed, gratification, goals, and the like. Since they could not accomplish it, they are behind ambition, desire. They also distrust people as they fail in accomplishing their task or desire. Now Dion, he is desperate for money in order to support his family. However, Margaret convinces him to join Billy's architecture firm. Dion finds a young woman named Sybil. He seeks support from her, that is emotional support. When Sybil addresses his problem, he responds by taking off his mask and reveals his true self. His friend Billy also accepts emotional support from Sybil. For the next 7 years, Billy's mask transforms into a gentler face. Gentler meaning a kind and a calm face. He transforms as a person who treats people in a careful way so that they are not hurt. There is an identity transformation happening between Billy and Dion because Billy uses Dion's mask, especially in front of Margaret, to pursue her love. However, one night, Billy reveals his true face to Margaret. Margaret could not recognize his face. Few days after, Dion meets Billy at a library with a tortoise mask. Tortoise meaning a person who has pain or suffering. Now, Dion admits to Billy that when they were young, Billy has betrayed Dion's trust. Since that time, Dion has lived in jealousy of Billy as he could not assert himself confidently and form an identity. Eventually, after days, Dion dies and Billy takes Dion's mask and clothes to assume his identity in front of Margaret to pursue her love. Finally, as Billy loves Margaret, he wanted to attain her attention. So he wears Dion's mask and portrays in front of Margaret as her husband Dion. 1 month later, Margaret comes to Billy's office in search of her husband because she was unaware of Dion's death. Margaret asks to Billy where Dion is and she breaks down. Now Billy takes off his mask to reveal a face tortured by the demon of Dion. He declares his love for her, but Margaret, in fear, she runs. Later that night, Margaret talks to Billy as Dion because she sees Dion's demon is in the face of Billy. Now, Billy as Dion responds that he will murder the man, to which Margaret is surprised. Actually, the man is Billy himself. Another month passes. Billy appeals to God for the strength to kill himself. In his office, he switches the masks of Dion and Billy himself, and he interacts with Margaret and his clients. And suddenly, when Billy disappears, all his co-workers think that Billy is dead. Margaret believes that Dion has killed him, but all other co-workers believe that he has died a natural death. Now, police go to Billy's house and see him in Dion's mask, and they shoot him. There in the house, Margaret finds her husband Dion's mask, and she mourns for her husband's death. Now Sybil comes to the stage. Billy is dying. Billy tells to Sybil that he has found God. By this time, Margaret and Dion have children. All this happened before the death of Dion. At present, after 4 years later, after the death of her husband Dion, Margaret stands on the pier from the beginning of the play with her children, and she reminds her children to respect the memory of their father, and she declares that she has unending love for him. This is how the play ends. Let us have a small analysis of this play. This play, The Great God Brown, explores the themes of identity. Neil has used straightforward and experimental theatre technique. The usage of mask depicts the characters' hidden true feelings as they wrestle with the drama of their lives. Billy's life is successful because he has a successful career as an architect, but he is unfortunate and unsuccessful in attaining love from his love, Margaret. Meanwhile, we see Dion is unsuccessful in his career. He wanted to create an identity for himself, but he is betrayed by art. That is, he could not make a career. After the performance of this play, the play received several criticisms. One of it is that Neil's experimentalism is an attempt to physically represent inner feelings. Some critics find this play illogical, confusing, or boring. The play totally had 283 performances in New York. The Wall Street Journal called this play as a laboratory experiment, not good for the theatre. The novel has influence with other writers. E. Cummings, in his play Him in the year 1927, features a parody of this play, The Great God Brown. In the play Him by E. Cummings showcases two masked characters. They are Will and Bill. They exchange their identities, just like Billy and Dion. William Billy Brown and Dion Antony, they know each other from childhood because their fathers are friends and business partners. But their friendship is marred when Dion marries Margaret because Billy and Dion both fall in love with the same girl, Margaret. The character of Billy is outwardly moral and he is a straightforward person. He is a successful architect. Meanwhile, Dion, he was into alcoholism and addicted to gambling. When Dion goes unsuccessful in his career, Margaret asks Billy to hire Dion in order to save their family from destruction. Billy agrees to Margaret's request, but as they together work, both Billy and Dion, they get jealous that eventually exploits and ends with Dion's death. Billy as he is jealous of Dion's life with Margaret, he seeks an opportunity to take Dion's life and everything that comes with it, includes Dion and their children. Eventually, he assumes Dion's identity and he plots a murder. The theme of this play, The Great God Brown, is identity because the play's characters wear a mask in order to hide their mental feelings. The characters, especially Billy and Dion, they hide their identity to protect their inner self from the outer world. Hope this video helps. If you have query, please write it down. Thank you for listening.